that's one of the things that I've learned this time around, is to kind of like be able to do that.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you learned?
I think that I have definitely been humbled by a lot of the interviews that we had.
Uh-huh.
So for me, it was about learning that, and admitting, and this is the humbling part, that, I'm not the only thing that matters, that there are a lot of other people that are going through a lot of things. And I think that as a human race, we forget that about other people. And it's one of the things that we talk about is kindness and how our words and our actions affect other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm still learning that. I mean, I have situations just recently where I'm just like, okay, I need to be kind. This is not somebody else's fault. This is my own, doing, or this is my situation to deal with. And I need to not take it out on other people and be kind. And so I learned that, that because you listen to other people's story and you find that there are elements that I'm like, oh, I feel you. I get that, and you build your empathy skills, and then you listen to them and your communication skills, and a lot goes into those conversations. Yeah. And so just listening to these people's stories really opened me up to having this really beautiful perspective that people have beautiful lives and that we're not so different as people want to make us seem, society wants to make us seem, or separate, that people, when all this separatism and stuff. So that's one thing. So I think I've been, if to label that piece there, would be that I've been humbled by that. And
the interesting thing that you mentioned, because whenever you do something, then there's got to be some type of intentionality, right? That you want. There's a reason and a purpose why you're doing certain things. One of my objectives and one of my intentions in doing this is that when you look at people's stories, you are able to find commonalities amongst their stories, regardless of the person's background, culture, race, gender, regardless of that. There are commonalities that bind us more than those that kind of separate us.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's one of the intentions that I really had when we came up with this idea. And so you saw that with that interviews, saw that with the conversations.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really enjoyed about our first season is watching, again, with the intention of looking at the cyclical nature of a life, the birth, adolescence, young adults, maturity, that those stages of life and the transitions of it, right?
Right.
And having the underlying factor of fate, the fact that none of us gets to choose the places that we're born, the families that we're born into, the circumstances that we are born into. And I think that consistently you are able to see that across everyone. And the beautiful thing also is that I saw in specific to that is that people, they're able to surpass those perceived limitations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because you were born in a certain place or because you feel that you were born in a certain disadvantage, people were still able to make something out of their lives. If you were perceived to be born with certain advantages, life still has ways of fate. Life has ways of challenging you that shakes you at your core. Either it be through a death, either it be through career change circumstances, moving from country or area to area. So seeing that cyclical aspect and how those stages were so instrumental in people's lives, and seeing reflecting on the role of fate and the randomness of life, I think that that was a really cool thing to see from the people that we interviewed.
Yeah. Another thing that was really good for me too, and I agree, I think that's an aspect that was really pivotal in a lot of the conversations and the interviews that we had, but also my personal perspective on some of those interviews as well was just understanding that, and it was also humbling, was understanding that life is so like, I have a tendency of sometimes focusing on the future or the past, right? And I try really hard, you know me, I try to really live in the moment and enjoy what I have right now, because you don't know when, you know, we are going to experience loss. You know, I could be gone, or you could be gone, or other people that we care about could be gone. And so to appreciate the time that we have with those people, because we interviewed people who lost in different ways, relationships, spouses, you know, parents, things like that. And that was humbling because there were people who expressed that, and they were young people.
Correct.
Like when we interviewed Terry Stone and other people that had losses, you know, and it was just like, she lost somebody at a young age, and then having to redefine your whole life. You know what I mean? Not that she didn't have her own identity, but just that this was not something that she had expected.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? And it just makes me think that I need to value the moments that I'm in, and the moments that I'm in, I need to be honest. I need to be open. I need to be constructive, you know, kind in the things that I say and how I deliver them. And that's been really, really impactful for me. And I think that reflecting, knowing that we were going to do this episode to introduce season 2, I reflected on that. And then with a couple of things that happened, it really drove home. Yeah. Thinking about that, about how sometimes we don't think about our behaviors, you know, in those moments, and we're not kind, which is again what we are about. Right. So that was was interesting for me.
I think about also, reflecting on the episodes from Jarrell to Judith through Rolando, Terry, Mike. I believe them. I don't think I missed anybody, right? It's
quite a few.
I think that's had, you and I.
Then we had oh my gosh, it's terrible that we're forgetting her name.
Oh, Teresita. Oh, particularly,
I almost
Teresita.
said Cruz.
Teresita. Like,
I know her last name.
The role of family, right, and how family plays a role pivotal in our lives, like which is either a supportive role, but also a role that is not so pleasant, you know. And there's a lot of people out there, again, that are born into families which we don't choose to, and some of those families are abusive, you know, and some of those families are so culturally set or affected by certain things. And I'm just so interested in that aspect of the human spirit and the soul that continues to move past those things to find a better way to live. Like in the case of Teresita, in the case of Mike, you know, in the case of Judith, in the case of Jarrell, you know, having a mother with lupus and then wanting to start a family, seeing death and appreciating those things. You know, Judith, with her dad's situation, it's very similar to mine, and then still being able to persevere and do those type of things, and the role of family. And then if that family is not the one, it's really creating a family or having those people around you that are really there to support. Right. So there's a lot of things that are, I mean, even Terry's, like, you know, the community came together to help us out. Yeah. It goes to the idea that we as individuals understand that need for being there for others. And if we really take a step back, we do see that there are a lot of people in our lives that have been instrumental to get us to a much better place. And whether we like to, that kindness, that love, and that patience for the other individual has been consistent, and it is consistent if we get past thinking about the past and thinking about the future, and kind of like where we are in the here and now, right. And then also understanding that the person standing next to you has a story and that has similarities to you, instead of perceiving them as so much different.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think if we're to kind of like finalize the segment of and looking back, I think those are the main lessons. It's like we are fed too often the idea of separation.
Yeah, definitely.
That either because I achieved this, I am better than, and therefore I'm separate then.
Yeah.
You know, because I speak this way or I look this way, I am separate than somebody else that looks different or thinks differently or comes from a different place or has a different ideology.
Right.
You know, the cyclical nature of a human life, it's the same. A lot of the obstacles are pretty much the same. And, you know, that idea of transitioning from dependency to self-reliance, to maturity, and again, in the whole process of self-actualizing, those are the things that are common amongst all people.
Yep.
So we have a choice to make, because we could choose to make those transitions easy, not just for ourselves. I wouldn't say easy. I would say less painful, you know, for ourselves and for others. Or we could just not care.
Yeah.
You know? And that's, I think that's the main synopsis of the lessons that we learned from season 1.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. That's right. So